Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from our virtual mansion house and welcome to the Chartered Banker Institute Young Banker of the Year 2021 Grand Final, the most exciting, the most exhilarating, the most inspiring event in the Institute's calendar. Wherever you are joining us from this afternoon, the UK or internationally, from home or from the office, whether you're watching alone or with family, friends and colleagues, you are, I know, going to enjoy meeting our four finalists and hearing their ideas for the future of banking. But before we do that, let us hear from the Lord Mayor, who would usually be welcoming us to the real Mansion House, his or her home and office in the heart of the city, a wonderful stage and setting for the grand final of this prestigious competition, and we hope to be going back there next year. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lord Mayor.
Hello, my name is William Russell, and I am the 692nd Lord Mayor of the City of London. And I'm delighted to join you all, albeit virtually, for the Young Banker of the Year. This is a really special event for each Lord Mayor. Up until very recently, I would spend a third of my time in office visiting our international trading partners. I would be in the Middle East 1 month, Australia the next, and then over to the USA and many other places. Thankfully, I'm about to start going back on these physical trips again soon. And one of the best things about them is the business delegation I bring along, made up of the very best UK talent. I have found that the foreign bankers, regulators, and innovators are always keen to meet them and start building new commercial enterprises together. The way I see the people that apply to become Young Banker of the Year is that they are my future delegations. Smart, adaptable, and can deal with complex problems. They showcase the brightest young talent in the banking sector. They are undeniably role models for your colleagues and customers. So congratulations to you all. The competition overall, and this final in particular, is designed to test the ability to generate and develop new ideas, especially focused on driving innovation, delivering sustainable growth, and demonstrating customer-focused professionalism. And this year's proposal is all about your vision for the future, in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. There couldn't be a more important topic to explore. It is imperative on the entire financial and professional services sector to put new long-term and sustainable financial solutions at the forefront of our plans. I am very proud that the UK is a world leader in sustainable innovation. From the launching of the Green Finance Institute right here in the city to the Green Finance Strategy, we're at the forefront of this necessary new wave. And it is cheering to see this fantastic award focused on this innovation. I see it as a very public demonstration of a future of socially purposeful banking built by the very best the UK has to offer. I wish you all the very best of luck, not just in the competition, but in your future careers too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. And now on with our final. For the first time this year in 2021, our Young Banker of the Year competition has been supported by the United Nations Environment Programme Finance Initiative. That's the team behind the UN Principles for Responsible Banking. Which means that for the first time in the 40-year history of this great competition, we've attracted entrants from banks and bankers around the world, making the contest more challenging than ever. And in January, we set a global challenge for young bankers designed to seek out the best new ideas and innovation that they could implement in their organisations to improve outcomes for customers, colleagues and communities, consistent with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The aim has been both to identify new innovative approaches and the best young bankers, the smart, adaptable, customer-focused, professional young bankers, in the Lord Mayor's words, who are able to bring their ideas to life. These are ideas and individuals who can, and who I am sure will, change banking and change the world for better by helping to align banking with sustainability in the broadest sense. That's environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and building back better so that economic prosperity is more widely shared and takes into account the needs of all individuals and the needs of both current and future generations. And together, the 4 ideas you'll hear today encompass all of these aspects, and all 4 of our finalists could be this year's Young Banker of the Year, winning not just the prestigious title and trophy, but also a cash prize of £1,000 and a further £1,000 donated to a charity of their choice. So let's meet our 4 Young Banker of the Year finalists. In the order they'll present to us today, they are James Houston. James joined Lloyd's banking group in 2020 as a management trainee and is part of the bank's finance graduate programme. Hi, James. Good luck.
Thanks, Simon.
Rosie Lyon. So Rosie started with AIB in 2016 as a cashier and is now a junior relationship manager. Banking runs in Rosie's family as her father worked in the profession for more than 30 years, and I hope he's watching today. So good afternoon, Rosie, and good afternoon to your dad.
Thank you.
Matthew Nimbley. Matthew is an assistant banking manager in the private bank at Hamden & Co, following spells in the banking operations and credit documentation teams. Matthew's also won 1 prize from the Institute already this year. He was awarded the Hutton Prize Medal for the best student in our professional ethics paper. Matthew, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Simon, thank you.
And Ed Sands. Ed is currently a senior manager at TSB, looking after current account transformation, and joined the bank after working as a strategy consultant in the UK and abroad. Hello, Ed.
Afternoon, everyone.
So, ladies and gentlemen, James, Rosie, Matthew and Ed are your Chartered Banker, Young Banker of the Year 2021 finalists. And I've had the privilege of meeting them during the semi-finals, as well as seeing their ideas develop and evolve throughout the competition, with support from their executive sponsors and others in their banks. And thank you very much to all involved, especially to the executive sponsors. And I know you're really going to enjoy hearing from our 4 finalists in just a few minutes. But for those of you who have joined us at previous finals, you may already have noticed a few differences. I'm not actually at the Mansion House this year. I'm in my study at home, which is somewhat less impressive than the Lord Mayor's mantelpiece. And our finalists and judges are joining us virtually from around the country. And sadly, you'll need to bring your own canapes and champagne this year, although if you're watching live at lunchtime in the UK, then perhaps sandwiches and a soft drink might be more appropriate. Hopefully, we will meet again in person at the Mansion House next year, but let me tell you briefly how the final will run virtually this year. So our 4 finalists have recorded their presentations, setting out their ideas and how they've put them into practice. We've shared these via the Institute's website and via social media over the past week, and I hope you've all had the chance to watch those 4 fantastic and incredibly professional presentations. We'll share the highlights of each of those presentations in just a few moments. Earlier this week, though, my fellow judges and I spent time watching the full presentations and then discussing them in detail with our finalists ahead of making today what will be a very, very difficult decision. And now let me introduce our judges to you, and on behalf of the Institute, thank them for sharing their time, expertise and insight with us this week. And your judges are, firstly, Steve Paytman. So Steve is the president of the Chartered Banker Institute, the pinnacle of a 40-year career in banking, including very senior roles at Santander and RBS, as CEO at Hodge and Shawbrook Banks. And Steve is currently NED and chair of Remco at the Bank of Ireland. So good afternoon, President. Steve is joined by 3 fellow judges, Puleng Injiri Portelli. As I mentioned earlier, we're delighted to be working with the UNEP Finance Initiative this year, and even more so to have Puleng joining us as a judge to provide a global perspective. Puleng is a banker and a lawyer, having worked for both Investec and Standard Bank, and now leads the banking team at UNEP FI, working in particular on the principles for responsible banking. So, hello, Puleng. Joy McKnight is the editor of The Banker magazine, part of the FT stable, and very much, I think, the journal of record for banking globally for nearly 100 years now. So as editor, Joy gets to interview many senior banking industry figures, politicians, regulators, and so on. But I hope she's been enjoying meeting some of the future leaders of our profession even more this week. So hello, Joy, and thanks for joining us. And Omar Sheikh. Omar is the co-founder of the Global Ethical Finance Initiative, GEFI, another very close partner of the Institute, working in very similar areas to us to align finance with society and sustainability. Omar has been a leading advocate of and for ethical finance for more than 20 years and was the former head of Islamic finance at EY. Ladies and gentlemen, your judges. Now, after we've seen the highlights of each presentation, we will be joined by James, Rosie, Matthew and Ed live to answer questions both from the judges and from you, our audience. And to send in questions for our finalists, we're going to use Slido. The details will be on the screen in a moment. There they are now. So please send in your questions via slido.com. Type in 993893 to the event code box. That's 993893. It's not my mobile number. And then you can submit your questions there. And once we've heard from all four of our finalists, our judges will retire to a mystery luxury destination to consider who will be awarded the prestigious title of Young Banker of the Year 2021, to be awarded in perhaps about 40 minutes or so from now. But don't think you, our audience, can just sit back and watch. Please do enjoy the broadcast, but we also would like, in fact, we need you to get involved too, not just by asking questions, but we would like you to choose the winner of our audience prize. That's the finalist who, in your opinion, delivered the best presentation today. And details of how to vote for the audience prize will be shared after all four finalists have presented, but in brief, you'll be using Slido for that too. And now let's meet our first finalist. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my very great pleasure and privilege to welcome James Houston from Lloyd's Banking Group.
This sustainable savings account is targeted at sustainably conscious customers and allows them to support sustainable and responsible businesses. The first key feature of this account is that all deposits are earmarked for sustainable lending. This lending will help contribute to a more sustainable future and focus on key sustainable development goals to help close the current SDG financing gap. If you consider an individual customer, part of their money may be used to develop a large offshore wind farm, which helps to achieve a more sustainable energy mix for the UK. Part of their money may be lent to a national business to help them transition towards a net zero carbon business model. And further money may be lent to a local charity, allowing them to purchase machinery that increases their capacity to help communities. The second and third key features, interest sharing and lending profiles, allow savers to visualize their impact on the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. The interest sharing feature allows savers to share their interest with charities, organisations or projects that are acting to achieve the SDGs. For instance, I may choose to support Cancer Research UK. The default interest sharing rate will be set at 50%, and this nudges savers to share their interest. And this donation could also be matched by the bank. Users can see their donation, the UK overall donation, what this is funded, as well as stories from the charity. Another key feature is lending profiles. These aim to meet the requirement of more information and evidence of sustainable impact that customers require. Firstly, there is a visual representation of the overall composition of lending. And below this, there is information and stories to savers about where the money is lent, how it's making a difference, and key statistics for these projects. There are also three core benefits to the bank from this account. The first is that it allows the bank to capture the growing market of sustainably conscious savers. Secondly, a switching and motivational effect will increase deposits at the bank. In fact, 50% of people said that they'd be motivated to save more money if they knew doing so would make a positive difference in the world. Finally, the comprehensive screening process will ultimately result in better management of default risk for the bank and could act as a comparative advantage. Hence, this account not only offers customers innovative features, but also offers clear benefits to the bank.
Hello, James.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Thanks. Great, thanks. Thanks for a wonderful presentation. That was just the highlights, of course. I hope everyone has seen the whole presentation and heard you describe the sustainable savings account with such passion. It's a fantastic idea. One question. My job now is to sort of present questions on behalf of the audience, there are other sustainable savings accounts in the market. For instance, Triodos has been mentioned. Mm-hmm. So, briefly, what makes your idea different?
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of competition in the market that from a few existing smaller banks. But I think it's really important that a large bank like Lloyd's Banking Group enters this market for two reasons. One, the scale of impact we can have, and secondly, the range of impact we can have. So last year, Lloyd's Banking Group did £2.3 billion worth of green lending. And a lot of these banks are smaller and they don't have access to the amount of sustainable lending initiatives that we would. In terms of the range of impact too, these smaller banks tend to focus on specific issues. So for instance, Tandem Bank and Ecology, their sustainable accounts focus on green mortgages. Whereas this account, really, we have access, we have the opportunity to impact a much wider range of sustainable development goals. So when we look at, for instance, in the government paper, Investing in a Better World, they found that in the UK, people think the most important SDGs to invest in are no poverty, zero hunger, and clean water and sanitation. Yet the existing sustainable accounts don't impact these. And this is where the interest sharing feature of this account is the key differentiator. It allows the account to impact a much wider range of sustainable development goals. I hope that helps answer the question, Simon.
It does. Thank you very much. And now to our judges, and a question to James from Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Right, sorry about that. I was struggling with the technology. So nice to see you again, James. Again, a great presentation and a great idea. One of the topics we talked about previously, which is the basis of my question, is how do you think you'll be able to engage people when interest rates are so low and therefore the amount of money on the table is actually quite small?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Steve. And I think it's really important that if we can get this account to work now in a low interest rate environment, that means that when interest rates do rise, then we can have a greater scale of impact, especially with that interest sharing feature. So we've heard Andrew Bailey say that it's looking more likely that interest rates will rise next year. We've got a lot of inflationary pressure in the economy. But I think at the end of the day, sustainably conscious savers who will opt for this account, they're not driven entirely by the interest rate. And I think it's important that so for instance, we're hoping that they choose to opt to share their interest with charities. These are altruistic individuals. But in terms of the interest rate, I think it's really important that we set it competitively so that we can encourage more savers to use the account. But more importantly, I think this product is differentiated in the services and features it offers. And that's really what's going to drive customers. There's two aspects at play here, the interest rate and the product features. And hopefully together, that's what's going to drive the customer demand. I hope that answers your question. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, James. I wish we had time to have many more questions. A couple of comments coming in on Slido saying what an amazing idea. And those are comments from other banks too. So just be careful they don't steal your best ideas. I suspect. Anyway, thank you very much. And now let me welcome our second Young Banker finalist this afternoon, and that is Rosie Lyon from AIB. Rosie, over to you.
My idea is to build a fairer financial future for sufferers and survivors of domestic violence and abuse, also known as DVA. This is a cause very close to my heart and something I'm extremely passionate about, as I've experienced DVA for 9 years. I'm experiencing financial abuse, and I'm soon to be a survivor, which is something I'm proud of. So what is domestic abuse? It's not just physical, it's a whole variety of abuses, such as sexual, tech, psychological, and one we often see in banking, financial. 1 in 5 British women experience financial abuse, and many, like myself, have to give up their home. Financial abuse falls into domestic abuse, with examples being controlling how someone spends their money or building up debt in the victim's name. There are many consequences to this, one being negative credit scoring, which can impact a victim for decades. So what is my proposal? There is 3 main parts to my idea, starting with raising awareness and implementing training to staff so they can recognise, support and treat DVA sufferers fairly. This also includes updating our internal intranet site and our website with useful information. Secondly, I'm bringing a DVA policy into place to help sufferers of DVA that are in colleagues and customers. I'm also looking at enhancing our credit policy to give consideration for DVA sufferers with poor credit scoring so they're able to obtain lending. And lastly, I believe my idea can be implemented across all financial institutions, and I'm liaising with UK Finance. I've also had conversations with credit referencing agencies as well as utility companies. I'm delighted to announce that I'm speaking to credit referencing agencies, and we are looking at the open banking platform functionality to provide holistic information to lenders. I truly believe that my idea will help many vulnerable people and demonstrate that we, as a bank and as an industry, understand the challenges that people face and what sufferers have to go through. I'd like to thank you for giving me a voice and thank you for your time. I hope I've demonstrated how passionate I am about this topic that affects so many people and the need for change.
Thank you, Rosie, and thanks not just for sharing your idea, but for sharing your story with us too, which is very brave. And but now we've got. I'm just checking my questions here. They're coming through quite quickly, actually. Let me just choose one. Yeah. So, how does this fit with the FCA's work in this area in terms of identifying economic and financial abuse as one area of customer vulnerability?
Yeah, so I've actually been on the phone to the FCA this morning about how we're going to put my idea into place, which is brilliant. It was really productive as well. So we are looking at different things. They have looked at domestic abuse and economic abuse, working with C, which is Surviving Economic Abuse, really good charity that I also have communication with. And they look at coercive debt, but we're going to look at what we can do to give lending opportunities for sufferers and survivors, as well as how we can make sure policies are mandatory throughout financial institutions.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. And thanks for the question. I wish we had time to do more than one question, but I'm afraid we don't. Let's hope things change next year when we're back in the Mansion House. But now to our judges, and a question to Rosie from Joy.
So Rosie, thank you so much for such a great presentation, and to all the other finalists that also have great ideas, very impressive presentations as well. A great cohort of future leaders. I think this project is really interesting because it addresses the societal role that banks can play and are really looking to play, I think, in future, and that whole support of sufferers that transition to survivors. Great application of open banking, great reaching out to the regulators and other industry bodies. But my question is, with this project, you're addressing a real need for a select group of vulnerable people within society, but have you thought about how you can expand this project and use open banking along with this sort of change within the credit scoring functionality, really to broaden out to other similar financial independence issues for other communities of vulnerable people?
Yeah, so working with the CEO of Equifax and AccountScore, where they have advised me that they're looking at the vulnerability sector, and they've highlighted 42 vulnerabilities, one being domestic abuse, and I'll be helping them as a live case for the domestic abuse part. So we've piloted it already on myself, and we're going to be looking at rolling it out. And if it goes well, which I think it will do, then we'll be looking at doing it for other vulnerable people, as well as other people that just aren't vulnerable, just have no credit scoring, such as individuals that have their partners that have all the bills in their name and the lending in their name. So they'll be able to get that themselves and build a credit scoring from it. So we are looking at that, yes.
Great, thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Joy. Now I'd like to welcome Matthew Nimbley, our third finalist. So Matthew is from Hamden & Co.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Nimbley, currently working for Hamden & Co, and I'm delighted to be able to share my idea with you all today. So firstly, what is the problem that my idea is trying to solve? Well, fundamentally, the answer to this is twofold. Firstly, it is the prevalence of consumerism, wasteful overconsumption, and the detrimental impact that this has upon our environment. Secondly, and perhaps even more importantly, is the fact that most of us are unaware and uninformed consumers. Although we have a sizable degree of control over how we consume, we often lack accurate and actionable information on how to improve our environmental performance. Therefore, my idea is to introduce a Hamden & Co e-statement, built around the simple premise of educating and guiding our clients towards more sustainable behaviour. Firstly, by utilising unseen back-end information, the e-statement will harness transactional card merchant data to provide a client with a personalised insight into their monthly spending habits. Secondly, it will collaborate with reputable fintech solutions such as Yeezy or Tread to utilise an API software that translates spending data into its CO2 impact. Thirdly, the e-statement will also produce personalised suggestions based upon the harnessed data. To achieve this, these suggestions will be populated by an evolving database of information, from the UN's Good Life Goals and Campaign for Individual Action to the facts and sustainability ratings of the ethical consumer. Overall, I firmly believe that the e-statement has the capacity to significantly improve outcomes for our clients, colleagues, and communities. My vision for the industry is one in which its institutions embrace and harness the inordinate amount of information available to them, not for commercial gain, but to innovate and instill positive change. The e-statement is one such solution and can help us attain our goal at Hamden & Co of becoming a forward-thinking, socially responsible bank which earns the loyalty of its stakeholders every day.
Hello, hi again, Matthew. Thanks so much. Great to see the highlights of the presentation, and there's a lot more behind it for those who've seen the full presentations. I hope everybody has, and the judges have, which potentially is behind a question that's come in from the audience. They say, how does your idea differ from competitors? And I think here perhaps the thought is that some competitors are already offering carbon footprint trackers, for instance, linked to savings accounts and providing information on that. So how would you sell the distinguishing features of the Hamden & Co e-statement?
Thanks, Simon. When I was doing my research, I saw that NatWest have partnered with Kogo to provide carbon feedback to clients. That's tucked away in the spending insights of their mobile app. Bank of Scotland, they utilise the card merchant data that my idea proposes to use, but from a fraud prevention perspective. Allied Irish Bank have a Go Green Hub and Barclays have a banking bulletin. But in the majority of cases, the onus is on the client to search for that information. And what my e-statement is doing is it's channeling sustainability information to a client in a personalised and convenient way. And that's why I think it will be a beneficial tool to them.
Great, thank you very much. I just love the comment that's coming from the audience saying, I've loved every idea so far, but also goes on to say, I just need more money in my bank. Yes, perhaps if that's an idea for a future young banker, if we can make money magically appear, that would be fantastic. Matthew, now to our judges and to a question from Puleng, please.
Thank you very much, Simon. Well, the question I had has just already been answered by Matthew. So thank you for taking us through how you see your product being different from other products on the market. So maybe just a comment then from my side, which is I think through driving education and in that way realizing behavioral change, I think that's quite powerful in terms of achieving the SDGs and really responding from a consumer perspective to driving down emissions. So thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, Pule.
Thank you very much. And now for our fourth and final finalist this afternoon, Ed Sants from TSB.
The UK has a serious and growing challenge of financial exclusion. Currently, 9 million people need credit each month just to survive. But every year, we're excluding 6 million people from accessing that credit that they need. 3 million of those customers are excluded just because banks are lazy with how they use data to make credit decisions. Financial exclusion is an issue we should all care about, because better financial well-being improves mental health, with 50% of mental health hospital admissions also reporting money stress. It saves money, not just through reduced interest costs, but also from improving mental health, with a mental health episode costing someone up to £800 a year. It boosts the economy, with 69p in every pound saved reinvested into our country, and it increases productivity, with a recent Barclays survey showing that 11% of workers who reported money stress also reported a drop in productivity. Now, to help customers who are financially excluded, I want to introduce Money Buffer. Customers need access to mainstream credit regardless of their social status. They need more control over their repayments to avoid high charges. They deserve products that are fair, clear, and structured, and we as a banking industry should do better with providing education and support to the most financially vulnerable customers. Now, Money Buffer is going to achieve this through 3 unique elements. The first, a line of credit product that decouples borrowing from a current account and allows customers to draw down on what they need, when they need it, and repay it over a fixed period of time. Then, we're going to use open banking to improve credit and affordability decision-making to open up lending to more customers than ever. And we're going to use open banking to help educate and support our most financially vulnerable customers when they need it. Now, if I can achieve the goals of Money Buffer and ultimately lend to 500,000 people who are currently financially excluded, I hope to be able to put up to £1 billion back in the pocket of those customers that need it the most.
Thanks, Ed. Again, another very compelling presentation and a product that, sadly, given the state of the economy at the moment, may unfortunately be needed by more and more. So it tackles, as do many of our presentations, a very, very important area. So interestingly, a couple of questions have come in, including from Alistair Gilfillan, who I'll say hello to. Alistair is a former winner of Young Banker of the Year. And so our audience, I think, noted that you spoke in the presentation of no material increase in fraud or impairment, but kind of what makes you confident that this will be the case? There's quite a substantial increase in unsecured lending you're proposing. So how will you manage the credit risk in this?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I think the key to managing your credit risk and your defaults is all about data. The better data you have, the more you can understand your customers, and the lower your default rates become. Now, I think traditionally when we do credit scoring on our customers, we look at things like, do they own their own home? Are they on the electoral roll, or do they have a stable monthly income? And as we know, customers are increasingly becoming more flexible with where they work and where they live and what their finances look like. So I really want to bring credit scoring into the 21st century by looking at a more holistic view of data, which we can do using open banking. As I said, the better data we have from more sources, The more we can understand about the customers, the more sensible credit decision we can make, and ultimately we can reduce defaults on those customers.
Great, thank you. And now to our judges and to a question to Ed from Omar.
Hi Ed, thank you very much for your presentation, and well done to you and all the finalists once again on getting to this stage. Edward, the question that I have for you is around, you mentioned in your presentation the other day around working with community groups to reach those people who are the most financially marginalized and who are financially excluded. How do you propose to do that in an efficient and effective manner?
So I didn't include it in our presentation video there, but working with community groups is a really key element of Money Buffer. So I spoke to a charity in East London, and one of the things that was really evident is the customers that could be helped the most with Money Buffer are perhaps those customers who have the least trust in mainstream banking. So delivering Money Buffer through community groups gives us an opportunity to deliver it through a trusted source and hopefully get it to more customers than if we did it through any traditional route. And when I spoke to that charity in East London, one of the things we discussed to get it out through community groups in an efficient way, to perhaps take some of the funding we would traditionally allocate to a new product launch, whether that be for TV adverts or radio, and use that funding to support community groups, to lay on events, to lay on talks and other sources of education for customers, and use that as a route to deliver Money Buffer to those that really need it the most.
Great, thanks.
Great, well, thank you, Ed, and thank you to all four of our finalists for four superb presentations, four very compelling ideas reflecting your visions for the future of banking. A future for banking that I hope you'll agree with me is in very safe hands. I think if we just put you in charge of your respective institutions and let you get on with it. So for your CEOs and ExCos and senior colleagues watching, then yeah, I think you should watch out. The future is bright and it's coming for you. Now let's have a round of applause that'll be heard around the world for our four finalists: James, Rosie, Matthew, and Ed. Very, very well done indeed. And now it is time for the judges to make their decision. So if I could ask our judges now to retire to the remote island we've secured for your deliberations, for what I'm sure will be a lively debate. I'll join you in a minute or two, and we'll be back in around 10 minutes with a decision. But whilst the judges deliberate, we need you to vote for the audience prize, which, just to remind you, is your chance to vote for the finalist who, in your opinion, delivered the best presentation. And I hope you've had a chance to watch all the full presentations before voting. Now, to vote, go to slido.com again on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. Type in, it's the same code, 993893, and you can then vote for your favorite idea and presenter. And voting is now open. And it'll be open for about the next 8 minutes or so. And while we're voting and waiting for the judges to return, we've put together some highlights of previous finals and winners. So see you soon with the results. A very, very warm welcome to our Chartered Banker Young Banker of the Year 2020 Grand Final. The most exciting, the most exhilarating, the most inspiring event in the Chartered Banker Institute calendar. Today, although we can't meet in person at the Mansion House in London for the Grand Final of this great competition, we can still come together to celebrate and showcase the best, the brightest, the most brilliant young people on whom the future of our banking profession will be built. And after a year like this one, heaven knows it's good to have something to celebrate.
A more sustainable and socially conscious future is bearing down upon the global economy and, by association, every business that operates within it. This is where Shift comes in. The premise is simple: an ESG scoring app for HSBC's SMEs. Shift will act as the catalyst and the support that our SMEs need to grow into their potential.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to collectively design and build a better future together. At AIB, we want to be part of this process, and I believe that we are uniquely placed to work collaboratively with our customers and local communities to create spaces and promote projects that reflect the shared vision of a sustainable future. We are creating the environments needed to bring sustainability to the forefront of AIB's culture, strategic thinking, and future planning. I am excited by the opportunity that this proposal presents, but I am also conscious that we must act now if we want to build a more sustainable future together.
There is a dearth of targeted banking solutions for this sector, and with a recent survey estimating that there are over 7 million people living with a disability in the UK, this brings to fore the enormity and scale of the problem. My proposal is called the Serious Injury Life Care Account, the SILC account. It's not often that we as bankers get an opportunity to impact on life-changing circumstances, and this is exactly what this is. Behind all of this are vulnerable individuals who have suffered life-changing circumstances, and the SILC account offers a solution to aid them on that rehabilitation journey.
So I can't cure disabilities. I cannot heal a serious injury. What's within my gift is providing a banking service and providing solutions that could help them and alleviate their healing journey. So that was where this idea came about.
I'd like to start the presentation today with a personal story. My grandmother is one of the many faint female voices, one of the many untold stories, one of the many women who unfortunately, despite own potential, were not able to follow their dreams. Fundamentally, this framework will enable gender equality to be streamlined into existing conversations. It will make gender equality a reality for all women. My grandmother and many other women or girls across the world have very little control over key aspects that end up limiting their future, such as where they're born, their cultural background, or their ethnicity. This should no longer be the case.
Your choice for the recipient of the 2020 Audience Prize is Tippy Malgui. Tippy, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I am humbled and honoured. Thank you.
Now, there has been much for us to be proud of today, with all 4 of our finalists displaying the high ethical, technical, and professional standards.
They showcase the brightest young talent in the banking sector. They are undeniably role models for your colleagues and customers. So congratulations to you all.
There can only be one winner, as they say, and I am delighted to announce that the winner of the 2020 Chartered Banker Young Banker of the Year competition is Tippy Malgui. Our congratulations to you as Young Banker of the Year 2020, and thank you to all of the finalists for making it such a close, competitive, and compelling final. Thank you all very much indeed.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for making the time to listen to my presentation today. And in the next 10 minutes, I'd like to show you my idea for how we can revolutionise the green space for UK SMEs.
Here to talk to you guys about the Automated Capability and Resourcing Engine, or ACRE for short.
So today I am presenting the Sustainable Agriculture Finance Model, which is the pathway towards the prosperity.
My idea is to introduce a Hamden & Co. e-statement. Ultimately, the e-statement looks to raise awareness of habits and then break them. But I think we can use behavioural economics to achieve that.
There is a gap between what our customers need and what financial services in the UK are providing. And Money Buffer is here to bridge that.
The app Growing Leaves. Growing Leaves represents a remarkable and very exciting way to make banking more sustainable, more transparent, and more trustworthy.
If I could change anything about the way that I bank, what would it be? And it would simply be that I would want my savings to make a positive impact towards solving societal and environmental problems.
improving financial literacy and education is a very, very important agenda in terms of banking and also to a greater community. And it might not be a big effort, but we're going to start small somewhere.
Looking forward to considering ways by which the bank can improve the offering for its vulnerable customers is an area I've continually been interested in. In findings from the FCA's Financial Lives survey in 2020, they found that 76% of UK adults that display one or more characteristics of vulnerability do not actually see themselves as vulnerable.
To be true, this idea is personal to me. HSBC Carbon Free is a transaction-based carbon measurement. And if we can ascertain a carbon emission to each of their transactions, we could provide them with a path of how they can potentially become more carbon efficient.
Really interesting idea. Lovely to hear you bring it to life as well, and a kind of great discussion as well.
But as we enter this post-COVID world of home working, Acre drives location-agnostic and skills-focused recruitment, where we champion the potential of permanent colleagues at a cost saving to the business through reducing redundancy costs, hiring fees, and the time spent on governance.
Like all good ideas, it's so blindingly obvious that you wish you'd thought of it yourself.
My idea is to build a fairer financial future for sufferers and survivors of domestic abuse. This is something really passionate to me and something so close to my heart. My idea is to raise awareness, implement training, and bring policies into place to bring a stop to domestic abuse and give the right to these individuals to rebuild their lives. Thank you for your time, and thank you for giving me a voice for something I'm so passionate about.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are calling our judges back from the remote island where we've sent them, and their decision is imminent. But before we announce the winner of Young Banker of the Year 2021, we will announce the winner of the Audience Prize as voted by you. Now, the judges and I haven't seen the voting, and so we're as excited to hear the result as you are. And with the votes now in and counted, I can announce our winner. And your choice for the recipient of the 2021 Chartered Banker Young Banker of the Year Audience Prize is James Houston from Lloyd's Banking Group.
Wow.
James, congratulations. So
thank you.
The problem with these virtual things is you don't get that huge cheer. We should probably have spent some money on sound effects and things in the background at that point. But congratulations from me personally and from everybody at the Institute. Are you surprised?
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting that at all. So thank you everyone who voted. Yeah, I'm really surprised.
Oh, well, it's a fantastic idea. I saw in the questions that were coming up, and some of the questions, because of the timing, came in a little bit too late for me to ask them. But a number of people have said the sustainable savings account is a fantastic idea. So yeah, let's hope we see Lloyd's launch this soon. Great, fantastic. Thank you very much, James. But now let me hand over to the president of the Chartered Banker Institute, Steve Paytman, to announce the winner of the Chartered Banker Young Banker of the Year 2021 competition.
Thank you, Simon. Distinguished guests, fellows and members of the Chartered Banker Institute, ladies and gentlemen. The Chartered Banker Institute was founded in 1875 to improve the qualifications of those engaged in banking and to raise their status and influence. In essence, to support a banking industry that our customers could rely on by developing and sustaining a banking profession of highly qualified, highly professional bankers. A banking profession the public could trust, and a banking profession we could justifiably be proud of. There has been much for us to be proud of this afternoon, with all four of our finalists displaying the high ethical, technical and professional standards that our banking profession must be founded on, and that the future of banking will also rely on. There, however, can only be one winner, and I'm delighted to announce that the winner of the 2021 Chartered Banker Young Banker of the Year competition is Rosie Lyon. So congratulations, Rosie.
Thank
Would you like
you.
to say a few words?
Yeah. I'd like to thank the Chartered Banker Institute for giving me the platform to raise the awareness on domestic abuse. AIB for all the support they've given me, the CEO, Exco, everybody else, and everybody that's followed my story as well. And this award's not just for me, it's for all the sufferers and survivors of domestic abuse. So thank you so much.
Rosie, thank you very much. And once again, many, many congratulations on a fantastic presentation, a great idea. And I wish you all the very best in helping turn that idea into reality.
Thank you. So,
pause for me to close proceedings. So, as president of the Chartered Banker Institute, as I said previously, the oldest institute of bankers in the world, I would like to not just congratulate Rosie as the winner of our Young Banker of the Year and James as the winner of the Audience Prize, but also congratulate all 4 of our finalists for developing and sharing with us your great inspirational ideas. I hope you're all very proud of your performance today and throughout the competition. You certainly should be. We set all out of our entrants this year the challenge of generating new ideas that could improve outcomes for customers, colleagues and communities, reflecting their vision for the future of the industry, whilst being consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In doing so, we expected our young bankers to drive innovation, deliver sustainable growth, and reflect the ethos of prudent, professional, responsible banking that our institute stands for. And I think we can all agree they've done an excellent job today and thoroughly succeeded in that objective. As the values espoused by our 4 finalists' ideas underline, now is quite rightly the time for our institute to continue helping the banking sector to play its part in supporting the economic and social recovery and the changes that will flow from COVID-19. The events have taught us a lot about responsibility, whether in adapting to changes in how and where we work, how we serve our customers, the communities we operate in, and the wider needs of a society brought together whilst physically apart. Stewardship is the word our founders would have used almost 150 years ago. Today, we might say responsible and sustainable, and that's why we define a responsible banker as someone doing the right thing in the interest of society and for their customers. As we look ahead, the key theme running through all we do, from our qualifications and learning, our member benefits and services to our events, will be that of responsible banking, as the world economy and society tries to rebuild in a better way from the effects of the pandemic. Responsible banking needs to be led by professional bankers, and we need to ensure that the future of banking is one that reflects and celebrates the diversity of our world. We live in a global community, and it's absolutely right that we will look outwards and face into the challenges that arise from COVID-19, as well as climate change, and the roles that bankers can play in meeting these unprecedented challenges to our industry, but also to the world in which we and our families live. There's been much for us as judges and in the audience to be proud of today, and I hope that all of us here will leave the virtual Mansion House feeling prouder to be bankers and more confident in the future of our profession, and perhaps slightly more confident in the future of our planet too. We should all take great comfort and pride from knowing that our young bankers, the coming generation of banking leaders, place this at the heart of who they are and how they approach their profession. But before we close, may I please thank, on your behalf and on behalf of the Institute, the Lord Mayor, William Russell, for joining us and for his continued support of the Young Banker of the Year competition. UNEPI-FI for being a supportive partner for the Young Banker 2021. And of course, to my fellow judges who've given up a huge amount of time this week. So to Joy, Omar and Puleng, thank you. To the Chartered Banker Institute team, especially Heather Marsh, for all she has done to make this year's competition an outstanding success, despite the very obvious challenges caused by the pandemic. And of course to you, our fellows, our members, and our guests for joining us for the final. And most importantly, and for the last time today, a thank you to our 4 finalists, all of whom have displayed the qualities that make them a credit to our banking profession. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you, hopefully in person, for the Young Banker of the Year 2022.